Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. Kingdoms of Amalur had a very interesting history, to say the least.
And as every ballad ends, another one begins.
This game almost bankrupted the entire state of Rhode Island when it came out in 2012. For a long time, it didn't seem like this IP had any future until THQ Nordic managed to acquire it back in 2018. Shortly after that, we got to see the announcement for Kingdoms of Amalur Re Reckoning and a brand new expansion pack, as well as a Switch port. I covered all of this on my channel because I was always a huge fan of this game. After I made a review for Fatesworn expansion, I honestly thought that's pretty much it. We're not going to hear anything else about Kingdoms of Amalur in the foreseeable future. Well, it turns out I was wrong, and more importantly, the recent updates for Kingdoms of Amalur might be an indicator of bigger things to come in the future, like a proper sequel for this amazing action RPG. I have some interesting things to discuss about this topic, but first, a quick word from today's sponsor. Dragonheir is an open-world strategy RPG you shouldn't miss in 2023. This game has an official collaboration with Dungeons & Dragons, and indeed, the game has some strong D&D vibes, as well as some very familiar characters from D&D like Dries the Orden. As for the gameplay features, you can expect to find some tabletop elements in Dragonheir. Dragonheir has some high-quality graphics and a gorgeous sandbox environment, where you can invest a lot of hours of gameplay. You can create your own character and interact with the world in various ways. Combat, trade, steal and persuade NPCs with a dice roll and create your own story with non-linear missions and side quests. There is treasure hunting, puzzle solving, drinking contests and more similar activities. By the way, if you watch Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, you'll be able to recognize some similar elements in Dragonheir, like mimic chests, dragons obviously, races like Dragonborn, elves, etc. etc. Dragonheir Silent Gods will come out on PC and mobile platforms, so you can play the game anytime, anywhere. It's expected to be released in the second half of 2023. Use my link in the description to pre-register and claim some sweet in-game rewards. You will get a legendary hero, as well as some useful in-game items. Fatesworn was a decent expansion, which added around 15 hours of content. It was not amazing by any means, but I gave it a quite positive review, despite all the problems it had. Overall, it was an enjoyable experience for me, and you can check out my full review if you're interested to hear more in-depth thoughts. After this expansion dropped, we got one patch that fixed some issues, but it was not a big deal. However, 6 months after that, all of a sudden THQ releases a new content patch. Arena mod added, well, arena fights. 3 new arena locations, new enemy group setups with increased difficulty, and of course, new rewards. This content is only available for people who completed the Fatesworn expansion. That's something that THQ likes to do a lot with these older games. They did something similar with Titan's Quest new expansion. Your character had to be level 70 in order to access the new contents. Putting that aside, I wanted to try out the new content by myself because I already beat the Fatesworn expansion when I did that review. But my save file wasn't there for some reason, and I would have to invest like 50 to 60 hours to access this new piece of content. To make things even worse, I couldn't find any footage of this new patch on YouTube. Although it sounds like a classic horde mode you get in games with some new rewards. There is already something similar in the base game. So yeah, this content patch came out of nowhere. No one expected to see more content for this game after that last DLC.
But wait! There's more!
Fast forward to March 17th and we got a new content patch. This patch was pretty small, it only added a simple side quest that all level 30 plus characters can do. You just go around the map and discover some secret locations, as well as the lore of Sheer. Sheer was a major character in the original story of Amalur. However, you don't get to meet with her again during this quest, you only get to find these notes she left behind. It's a very simple side quest, but when you finish it, you get a brand new armor set. It's actually the armor set that Sheer was wearing, and you need some points invested into Finesse talent tree if you want to wear it. It's a pretty cool side activity with a great reward at the end, and it's not exactly a major reason to replay the game. We could say the same about the arena quests. So what's the point of these free content updates?
You have done all of Amalur a great service, Faithless One.
Whenever THQ decided to make some new content for these older games, they always had something bigger up their sleeve. I already mentioned Titan Quest. This game had a couple of new expansion packs after THQ acquired the IP. They also made ports for Nintendo Switch, iOS and Android. And just recently, I covered a new, unexpected patch for Reason 1, and they also ported this game to Switch as well. Then we have the Gothic remake that's been in development since 2019. Destroy All Humans is another remake that THQ Nordic published, and the reception for that game was pretty good. I'm sure we could find some more similar examples for other games under THQ's Nordic belt, because they've been buying IPs left and right. If we take in consideration that we already got a remastered version of Kingdoms of Amalur, along with the new expansion, the Switch port and the new content patches we talked about in the video, I think it's not so far-fetched to expect a sequel. These new content patches are not big by any means, but this could just be a clever method to remind the people about the game and keep them engaged in a way. It's also a good conversation starter, and a lot of people started speculating about the sequel. Maybe that's exactly what THQ wanted. I think there is a big possibility that THQ will hire some studio to work on the sequel, but it's also possible to get more similar expansions to Fatesworn. Although the reception for Fatesworn was not that great, so one could think they won't try to do something similar again. However, mixed reception for expansion packs didn't stop THQ in the past. We mentioned Titan Quest a couple of times already, and how this game received new expansions after THQ acquired the IP. Only Ragnarok, the first expansion, has mostly positive reviews on Steam. The last two expansions are sitting on mixed, as well as the Fatesworn expansion for Kingdoms of Amalur. This might raise some concerns about the competence of THQ, and I'm still kinda worried about that Gothic remake. Especially because we know nothing about this development team, which THQ hired. So if THQ announces a sequel for Kingdoms of Amalur, they will probably hire another studio to do it, just like they did for Gothic remake. After all, THQ Nordic is just a publisher, not a development studio. So I hope for the best when it comes to Kingdoms of Amalur future. When THQ acquired this IP, they also acquired all the assets for the cancelled MMO Copernicus. This MMO was supposed to expand the universe of Amalur, but after 38 studios and big huge games were shut down, it got scrapped. We don't know much about this project, but I would be surprised if THQ didn't find a way to reuse those assets, although they might be very outdated by today's standards. Those are just pure speculations though, and Project Copernicus is a topic for another video. Whatever the case might be, I would like to see more content for this game, whether that's a full-blown sequel or another expansion. If I would have to guess, I don't think we're going to see more expansions. I think THQ will eventually hire another studio to work on a proper sequel because this IP has a loyal fanbase. Recent content patches for the game could be a sign for something bigger in the future, and the most logical thing to expect would be a full-blown sequel. Anyway, tell me what you think about this topic. Do you agree or not? Do you think it's possible to see a sequel for Kingdoms of Amalur? Let me know in the comments. I'll be there in the future to follow everything that's related to Kingdoms of Amalur, so stick around if you want to see that. I was covering this game for a very long time, simply because I always had a lot of love for it. I also have a lot of RPG related content on the channel, and you're more than welcome to check it out. Don't forget to like the video, and subscribing would mean a lot. If you want to go a step further, you can always become a Patreon or a YouTube member. Many thanks to all of my current supporters, and I'll see you in the next one.